Okay, so this is finally working, and I think I'm live. I had a little bit of a hiccup on the other platform, and so I am just here. Um, for those of you who are joining me here, that's really cool. And if you are watching this back later, that's also cool. Please feel free to add any comments in the comment chat box, and I'll be happy to just review those either during the session or later. Okay, so just for those of you who don't know, this is a live session about the masculine energies, or the intellectual or left brain thinking, processing, or mentalities involved in pretty much everyone's human psyche, and how it can affect or worsen or be detrimental to your relationship with your food and your body, specifically with eating disorders, but not limited to eating disorders. So this could apply to anyone across the board. And the purpose and the aim of this live is really just to be able to let people start to recognize when they are allowing their masculine or their left brain parts of their own psyche become unhealthy, and then therefore be detrimental to the health and growth of recovery or the connection to your body and yourself. Um, so the reason I am exploring this concept of masculine and feminine, I don't want people to get confused to think that I'm isolating the idea of energies to deal with eating disorders. While it is a very big part of, I truly believe, I think that nothing exists in isolation. But I wanted to help people start picking apart from the beginning, just to see patterns and mindsets and all of that stuff related to their relationship with their food and their bodies, so that they can begin healing that part of themselves. And so when I refer to masculine energy, I'm also referring to elements of the self that are involved in your response to life, in your decision-making process, in your behaviors, in your mood, your ability to love and give love, and your drive and things like that. So don't be put off by the title of masculine energy, but yeah. So with that, I will just get started. A little bit about myself. I am a life coach who specializes in, but I'm not limited to, helping people with eating disorders or those who have unhealthy relationships with their food and their body. And I really aim to bring in the importance of a spiritual journey on that healing process, in that healing process. And I look at the person holistically to see where it is that they're really struggling, so that they can begin to create more awareness and to make healthier choices for themselves, and to ultimately live in a place of more peace and joy um, in their journey with themselves and their body. So holistic and intuitive based modalities is kind of what I work with. And I have had an experience with an eating disorder. My personal journey has been one of overcoming that. And so I'm really passionate about teaching other people how they can begin to start healing that element of themselves. So I'll just first quickly dive into the idea of masculine energy, like what really is it? So if you think every single person, whether they're female or male, have these two sides of themselves that are encompassed in the human psyche, and that's the masculine and the feminine, or as some people call it, the intuitive and the intellect side. And those elements of ourselves can really come out in healthy and or unhealthy ways. And the reason why I've decided to start with masculine energy is because a lot of the time people who are dealing with eating disorders emphasize the importance of reawakening the feminine energy in eating disorder recovery, which is super important. And yes, I'm going to be speaking about it in 2 weeks' time. But I wanted to bring in that masculine first because I think what some people don't realize is that the unhealthy masculine is often um, a huge root or cause of eating disorders not really moving forward. Um, so, just for those of you who don't understand what it is to have a healthy or unhealthy masculine version of themselves, is um, so it comes out in your behaviors and your responses to life and the decision making process and that kind of thing. So what an unhealthy masculine energy would look like is someone who responds with aggression and is probably very hostile and takes everything really personally and responds to life situations with anger and hostility and is quite controlling, so very rigid in their ways with very little flexibility, is often very obsessive and close-minded, unwilling to compromise, and possibly very switched off from their own personal emotions or the emotions or feelings or understanding of other people. um, Often there's this play with power and competition, and you can sometimes find that the person is very cold or distant, and unable to give or receive love from others in a compassionate way. And then sometimes you also experience promiscuity, so people who are unfaithful or who have a lack of connection to the importance of their sexual energy. And so that's kind of the painting of the unhealthy masculine, and the healthy masculine then would be obviously the opposite of all of that, which would be a person who responds to life with dignity and poise and grace, is flexible and forgiving, is focused and driven, goal orientated but not obsessive, someone who's open minded and in touch with their own emotions, is able to place themselves in someone else's shoes, and also able to reflect on what's really going on for them internally. Um, Someone who is faithful and loyal to a partner or to family members, and is grounded in themselves and avoids harmful competition, and responds to life with assertive and yeah, respectful assertiveness. So not dominating and overpowering, but rather respectful and, like I said, poised. Also someone who is very present and loving and in the moment, and someone who gives love and receives love openly. So that's just a little bit about what they look like. And now I'm going to dive into how this relates to your relationship with your body and food. So a lot of the time, eating disorders are something that generates from very young ages, like the behaviors and the mindsets and all of that stuff can start as early as 3 or 4 years old. And it could be trauma based. I'm not really going to get into the reasoning of why eating disorders or problems with the food and body develop, because that's not what this is about. But the importance is to show that it can develop from a very, very young age. Um, but often what happens is it really comes to fruition around about the time of puberty. And I've always thought that this happens often because at that time we really start like battling and figuring out our hormones and what it is to embrace our feminine qualities and our masculine qualities, whether you're a man or a female. And it really starts to become present that there's these two separate sides of ourselves that we now need to start balancing. And whatever the reasoning being, whether it's trauma or bullying or the need to identify with a parent or the need to belong or whatever the reasoning is, a lot of the time around this time, a person can step into or dive into an unhealthy masculine energy. And that's often where they they learn how to respond aggressively to things that happen to them in life because it's a defense mechanism, and it's all it's all a way of trying to protect yourself from things that hurt, and so it's almost serving a function at first. This idea to respond to life aggressively is serving a function as to make you feel more protected. So where you might feel a lack of protection, you're wanting to overcompensate in order to then feel more protected, and unconsciously or subconsciously, you're actually really stepping into a defensive rather than a holistically protective um, persona. And often what can happen is maybe there's a lack of control or lack of feeling of control around you in the situation that you're in, whether it's at school or with at home or with family or loved ones or anything like that. So attaching to this idea of being able to control something becomes very, very apparent, and it becomes something that makes you feel in control. So already we're looking at responding with aggression. So a lot of the time people with eating disorders really struggle to outwardly respond with aggression, so they internally respond with aggression, which then means that they actually start harming themselves from the inside out. And that's why a lot of eating disorders are very secretive, and can often come with other comorbidities, coexisting issues such as self-harm or self-doubt. Even those kinds of things are harming thoughts to your internal state. And then there's this idea of control, so a young person or an old person, doesn't really matter. An eating disorder can start at any age, but a person can get this tiny little bit of feeling in control, and it can suddenly start to feel safe. Because if I can control what's going inside of me, or what I'm doing, whether I'm malnourishing myself by not eating, or whether I'm completely binging and eating so much until I feel sick or until I purge or something like that, um, it can make you feel that you are in control of something tangible, because everything outside of you doesn't feel in control, and everything inside of you doesn't feel in control. So there's this one thing that you can grab onto, which is your body or your food, and it makes you feel more in control. Um, Another thing that often comes up for people who have unhealthy masculine energy, or unhealthy balanced masculine energy in this area, is becoming very obsessive. So that can become with OCD. So it could be a habit that you perform, or maybe you're obsessed with certain exercises or certain routines or rituals. I know for me, I used to jump on a trampoline for exactly 2,000 jumps every single day, and I would not, it doesn't matter how I felt, I would go 2,000 jumps, and I had to do that whether it was 10 o'clock at night or whatever. I became very, very obsessed with a certain thing that made me feel in control. um, and people can also become obsessed with other people, or with circumstances, or with work, or with school, or with achievement. So the mindset goes into one of an obsessive mindset, and that often leads to obsession with food and obsession with your body. Um, and then obviously you've got the concept of switching off your emotions. A lot of people come to me and they say the only way they can describe how they feel when they're in the eating disorder is that they feel numb. And this is often because the idea of feeling any emotions is so incredibly scary that they're looking, the person who has the problem with the food or their body is looking for a way to not have to feel what they are actually really feeling. So they switch off, they disconnect from everything, because it's safer that way. And if you can disconnect from your negative emotions, it means you also disconnect from your positive emotions, because you cannot be a whole human being without being able to encompass the positive and negative elements of yourself and your psyche. Um, and often a person can then become promiscuous, or see sex or validation from the opposite sex as a way for affirmation, because they're not getting it within themselves. They're not feeling like they are worth the love that comes from within. And so there becomes this almost like so obsessive need to grab affirmation from other sources. I do understand that as a lot of people who struggle with eating disorders go the other way, into like absolute fear of intimacy with anyone. But that is a little bit more where we start to explore the feminine energy, which I'll be doing on the 8th. So this is specifically looking at the masculine side. So an unhealthy masculine would then be promiscuous or possibly disconnected from emotion with their partner. And then there's just this complete inability to give love and to receive love. And how that plays into an eating disorder is sometimes the idea of completely switching off and only seeing your body as something that, yeah, your body almost becomes a tool rather than you being a whole human being. You're this thing that you can use to get people to like you or to get people to hate you, whatever your purpose is. And I I think that it becomes really important for people to recognize that healing your relationship with food and your body does not mean rejecting your masculine energy. And this is what a lot of people do. They think that they need to reject their masculine energy in order to become a full and recovered person. And the truth is that you actually need to bring your masculine energy in, but in a healthy way. And this puts you in a place where you can become a more dignified version of yourself, where you're able to make decisions and you're able to make decisions that are in line with your values and the person that you are. And you're able to make decisions swiftly um, without too much noise, because you know your truth and you know who you are and you know what you want. And that can become very difficult. I mean, I remember the one time my partner asked me whether I wanted a cup of tea or coffee. And it really disturbed me because I couldn't answer. Because in that moment, I asked, what do I actually want? A similar thing happened when we were going for a walk, and he said, do you want to go left or right? And my automatic response in my head was, well, where do you want to go? Um, And in that moment, I had to realize, no, I need to be assertive. I need to be able to say, I want to go left or I want to go right. And it doesn't really matter whether you like that or not. So it's this respectful assertiveness that you start to respect yourself, and you stop pleasing others because of this idea that if you don't please them, then the whole world is going to end. It's like this chaotic. I mean, someone once asked me, like, what is the worst that could happen if you were to eat that meal? And I had to think about it. I was like, well, I don't know. It kind of felt like, well, maybe the world will explode, or or I'll die, or something like that. I was fearing death as the ultimate outcome of eating a meal. And that moment, I realized that I had the power to choose, and I had the power to choose authentically. And I don't always get it right. Even now with this whole live thing, I've been questioning it. I've been wondering, am I doing this because I believe that it's a way to get a message across to people that maybe need to hear it? Or am I doing it because coaches go live and that's what they do, and that's one of the things that you do when you're a coach? Or I really had to sit with this and wonder, where am I having like an unhealthy masculine energy where I am switching off and I'm unwilling to be flexible, to try new things or anything like that, because of this fear of not being perfect, of this fear of being rejected. And I just had to go with it. And if no one sees this, you know what, great. I think it's more about the fact that in order to heal yourself in terms of your food and body relationship, you need to start healing yourself with letting go of the fear of what other people will think of you and whether or not you're going to achieve your desired outcome from the video or the thing that you do, So um, one way to really heal that masculine energy is to let go of the outcome of your focused, driven goals. Um, so yeah, I think I've spoken quite a lot about what I really wanted to, and I think I'm just going to leave you guys with how to recognize and how to possibly heal the areas of your life where it might be a case of unhealthy masculine energy coming into play. So, um, some kind of things to think about or explore, and it's got to be different for everyone. I mean, for you it's going to be different, for the next person, for the next person, for the next person. But some things that really help you practice really bringing that masculine, healthy masculine energy to life is doing things like allowing yourself to be flexible in a situation. So releasing control or releasing the fear attached with the outcome of a situation. Another thing is to try something new, take on something that challenges you and something that's maybe quite scary, because that brings forth a sense of putting your foot down and standing your ground and saying, this is what I'm going to do, and you know what, I'm going to go for it. And so that's a quality of healthy masculine energy. And then it's also commitment, so when I decided to launch this live thing, I had a lot of doubt, a lot of self-doubt came in because, yeah, for many reasons. And the the thing that I then had to practice was, how do I heal my own masculine energy in this situation? I do that by committing and by showing up and by doing the next right thing, because that's what you do, that's what you do to be a whole, complete version of yourself, is to keep showing up no matter whether you're fearful, but then also to be able to acknowledge your fear, to recognize it, to maybe evaluate it, maybe speak about it, depending on the situation, and then to really embrace what it is you're scared of, and then really whether it matters or not. And another really cool way to just bring up that masculine energy is to do something physically challenging as well. And I would be cautious with this around eating disorder recovery, because there's a lot of schools of thought on the idea of physical exercise or anything like that. I personally believe that coming to a place of balance in your exercise regime is where true recovery and wholeness lies. However, in this specific situation, I would say do what works for you, but don't be afraid to explore your physical self. So, um, even if it's something like going for a surf, like doing something that challenges you on a physical level, but that also incorporates a sense of freedom or lightness, like moving away from competitiveness or rigidity. I would say, like yesterday, I decided to go for a run and I was quite tired, and I had to play with this. My perfectionist masculine energy, unhealthy masculine energy, was going, well, you have to do the same distance that you always do, because you need to be able to finish that, because if you don't, then you haven't exercised enough for the day. And in the run, I was like, no, 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 no. It's okay for me to walk and then to cut my run in half, but I still challenged myself by getting myself out of my room, out of my um, feeling like low and with no drive and no passion for the day. So yeah, there's a couple of things that I really would like to touch on more, but I am going to leave it there, and I'm going to say that if you have watched this, take some time to just kind of recognize where it is that you might be experiencing or displaying an unhealthy masculine energy, such as aggression or controlling behavior, obsession, workaholism, uh, even addiction, being unwilling to compromise, switching off to your own emotions, um, or using like power as a tool to dominate others or anything like that. And start to recognize where that's coming into play in your life, and see whether it's something that you'd like to adjust or like to start healing or changing. And feel free to message me or to leave some comments if you have any questions, or if you would like to know a little bit more about this. And I'm also available on contact on Instagram, and my Instagram handle is Kirsten Honeyball. So just my name, all lowercase. So you can go follow me there if you'd like to. And if you have liked this video, if you have any feedback, I'd really, really appreciate it. Because I'd love to know how I can best serve you in the next one coming up. Like I said, the next one will be on the 8th of November, same time, so Sunday at 5 o'clock. And there we're going to be exploring just the feminine side of the psyche, and how that comes into play with yeah, your eating disorder. If you have any questions about eating disorders specifically, or you are struggling with your relationship to food or your body, also please feel free to pop me a message either in the comments or on my personal inbox. Okay, cool. Thanks so much for watching if you have, and I hope that you've got something awesome from this. And I just wanted to also send out a shout out to a coach that has inspired me yeah, severely inspired me incredibly on this journey, just to put myself out there and to really and truly embrace the person that I am authentically, and to share my message. And that is Heather from the Atmana Coaching Collective. And yeah, she's just a really amazing woman, and she really just inspires people to live their truth and to speak their truth. And yeah, so thank you to Heather. And with that, I will say good evening, and I hope that you have a really awesome week.